What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with the Ghost. The Ghost is here with me once again. Ghost, thanks for joining me.
Hey, good to be here, as always.
Lots going on. I mean, every day it's like I feel like every day is like a Super Bowl for me. It's like every time I wake up, I'm like, oh wow, this is going on, this is happening. Whether it's reading social media posts or it's a circus or seeing what's going on in the world. Mexico basically, I feel like now, Ghost, I'm just gonna kick it off with this. We're in a Cold War with Mexico and Canada.
It kind of looks like that and feels like that. Um, when you have things like the cartels, you hear that they're getting together, get overcoming their differences, because now, of course, because they have a big threat looming on the horizon. And again, it's people are expecting, yeah, they're going in today. No, that again, like I said last time, it's the time to build up and to plug all the holes in the dams and to shore things up here as far as military personnel, as far as um, many of the departments and agencies that you see what President Trump's been doing, hit the ground running, thank God. And hopefully that little bit of time before anything does get to that point is either somewhat negotiated into a better position or let's just say the cartels won't fend well, and it won't matter what
Well,
backup they have.
it's who controls the government. It's the cartels. I mean that controls Mexico. So we know
And
that Claudia
Chinese by
Sheinbaum,
proxy through that.
right? So basically, this essentially is a war. Has been basically this is with China, Canada, and Mexico, and obviously by proxy, China is involved with Mexico. So and all the cartels. So this to me seems like this is not a good situation. Although I trust Trump with his fuck around and find out policy 100%. But I mean, I don't think it's I keep giving these travel advisories. Like I think Americans should be very careful traveling to Mexico right now. It's a heated situation.
And there's been cases of retaliation against tourists and things like that. I don't mean to be ginning up fear. It's just a fact. This has happened down there many times, continues to happen. Um, and some people are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. When you have, I think, a couple million, 1.6 million Americans in Mexico at any one given time, whether they live there most of the time, all the time, or just visiting. So it's a lot. It's a all I can say is if this time that's gonna pass in between when actual real heavy duty moves are made, if it gets to that, which I do see it getting to that, it will give time for things to get a little perspective, even from on all sides of this issue, because it is a massive issue when you really look at how much money goes through those cartels and how much they do have an effect on the economy today. That doesn't mean to say that there won't be things adjusted so to make it more difficult for them to do not only what they normally do. Of course, we want to stop all that, but let's say there's sidelines and going through other countries using other proxies.
They're gonna have to
It's going to be
reroute
it's
is
a
what
massive undertaking. Yeah,
so they're gonna have to reroute and they're gonna have to re-coordinate, reorganize their supply chains, everything. I mean, this is gonna get a little bit crazy, but I know that here in El Paso, they've already found like two or three tunnels, massive tunnels, in which they're working with, and they've closed those down. They shut those down, so I know they're stopping major arteries into the country already. Mexico's in my backyard. I have Mexico to my disposal. It used to be my playground. I hear both sides of what's going on. I have friends over there and friends here involved in criminal activities there, and I have friends here on the side of the law. So I think I have the best perspective in this, man. I do. Uh, and you've
you have
often
a great
said that,
perspective.
yeah, I have a great perspective here. Um, but you said something about April, and April is when you have said the the dominoes are really going to begin to fall, correct?
I would give it like a springtime beginning, and you know, that's what I would target, beginning of April, that time frame.
Let's
I've
get
heard
into
that
that.
from
Let me first
several
get into
sources.
this. All right,
Hmm.
folks, nobody likes getting older. One of the biggest reasons why is because our muscles become weaker, making the activities we used to enjoy more difficult to do and less enjoyable. What if you didn't have to get weaker as you got older? What if you could actually become stronger? Celebrity fitness trainer Tony Horton says he's found a way to turn the impossible into a reality, his reality, which he is now using to help thousands of Americans remain healthy and active as they hit middle age and beyond. It's actually a lot simpler than you might think. Horton, who is 66 years old, told us. It's a method anyone can do that takes about 1 to 2 minutes a day. That's it. And within a very short period of time, you can start to feel stronger and probably healthier than you have in years or maybe your whole life. Almost everyone begins experiencing some degree of age related muscle loss starting between ages 40 to 50. It's perfectly natural and nothing to worry about. However, it can make it harder to exercise or even perform routine activities you take for granted, like playing with the kids or pets and carrying groceries. On average, people lose 0.5% to 1% of muscle mass each year. While that may sound minor, it can add up over the years and decades. Increased frailty is a big reason why elderly people are more prone to falling down, which can lead to prolonged bed rest and hospital stays, which can mean even more muscle loss and what becomes a vicious downward spiral. My parents are going through this now. It's terrible, but I have them on this product. Um, Folks, go to tonyprotein.com/Nino and watch the video yourself. That's tonyprotein.com/Nino. Just click on the box below and get started on this, folks. You don't want to miss out on this sale. It's an amazing stuff. All right, Ghost, let's get into this. He's
Well,
completely dismantling the FBI, the prosecutor. They're being walked out of their offices. All of it. I mean, massive, massive cleanup. He's wasting no time.
which is great, and I'm telling you, these people know what they did. They know what moral lines they crossed readily, ethical, that goes without saying. And did they expect just to walk off into the sunset and say, well, that's the way it's always been. That's the way this town works. Um, uh, no, not anymore. That's been the problem, has been the way that town works. So major changes, it was just a matter of when and not if. And this kind of backlash when we saw things happen in the last, let's say, 8 years that we've never seen in my lifetime or even prior to that. Censoring, I mean, outright, not even, not even, not even, let's say, effective censoring, two-bit nonsensical censoring. Like, I'm not going to name any platforms, but we all know which ones they are. And who the hell were these people to think they could get away with that? Obviously, they don't understand civics or the Constitution. They don't understand um, the liabilities they've actually incurred. And now it's time for those birds to come home to roost, whether they were, doesn't matter if they were in a government agency like DOJ or, uh, you know, XYZ, let's say video provider. Um, there were too many things. And if asked by design, I would say a lot of it was allowed to happen by design. Um, Not all of it. It was just letting them do what you knew they were going to do, because you knew in the end it was going to walk them into a corner. That that the pendulum was swinging, and it was swinging back hard. And look what he's done with DEI and all the rainbow stuff. And
I mean,
you
it's all
know,
gone. It's gone.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
I mean,
gone.
I just saw a video today of a man walking through New York streets showing how it's completely cleaned up. Like there's no more immigrants on the streets selling stuff with blankets. I mean, it looked like the bridge on Mexico. I've seen videos of the immigrants just selling stuff, begging, and they would all just hang out in certain areas, especially here in El Paso. They're gone. So the cleanup is already working. They're actually self-cleaning, right, Ghost?
Yeah, yeah. And you have 46, and I don't trust polls. I think it's much higher, probably in the higher 50s, maybe early lower 60s even. But they say 46% of the Mexican population agrees with what we'd be doing to put the cartels out of commission.
Okay,
And
I
again,
can speak on that because
what you're
I
seeing
have,
is a
go
lot.
ahead.
I'd like to know what you have to say about what they think actually over there.
In Juarez, right now, the families are terrified because the cartels run everything. They extort all the businesses. They extort, whether you have a pharmacy, whether you have a restaurant, whatever you have there, a club, you better pay to the cartels. It's extortion. You owe them a percentage of your money. Now, sometimes when they're having wars or disagreements, you may have more than one cartel coming in to demand money from you. It's a bullies taking your lunch money every day, and that's what was going to happen here in America if the globalists would have had their way. That's really what would have been happening here in America. So right now, there's a lot of El Salvadorians, Hondurans, a lot of people South America. There's even Chinese there that are now running the streets, and the Juareños, or the people from Juarez, are sick of this. They're tired of this, and the crime rate has skyrocketed. It's through the roof. It's like violent crimes through the roof, theft, everything's through the roof. I don't know if businesses are getting extorted right now from more than one group, but it's really crazy what's going on right now. So there's a lot of imbalance right now, especially when we took out El Chapo Jr. and El Mayo. When we took those two guys out, it caused even more disarray and imbalance. So I believe we're gonna have a lot of conflict and tension with Mexico, but I believe this is what's going to ultimately bring down Mexico is the imbalance with the cartels. They're going to begin fighting with each other. I think that's what's going to cause us to ultimately win this is because they're going to take each other out. And then if they start doing anything to our border patrol or whoever, Trump's going to send in
Forget it.
the special forces.
Yeah. And again, there's got to be a little time to build up and to map things out even further to what's happening today before any of that can move. But we've been putting up with it for how long? I don't think a few more months extra is gonna. It is what it is. Yes, people are still going to die from these drugs coming across the border. Unsuspecting, innocent kids that, yeah, oh, try this pill. Well, it's the wrong pill. So we've had enough of that. We've had enough of the crime here as a result of that distribution. We have a lot of, let's say, bad apples in law enforcement across the country. And if anybody's listening to this as part of that, you know exactly what you're doing because what you're doing is known. All of this is being mapped out to current, uh, let's say to up to the minute and then kept track of. It has been for a while, but you need a lot of people to move on it at one time when you're talking counties all over the country where sheriff's departments have actually aided and abetted in the distribution of these things. The hard stuff they say that we're not touching. They take their tribute off of it, and then you have them, let's say, dispersing to high school kids steroids, things like that. Lower level stuff. But they know what's going on in their jurisdictions. State police knows what's going on in those jurisdictions. And then, by default, the FBI, to a degree, has to know what's going on in those various state jurisdictions. So nobody's fooling anybody. And then everybody's been looking the other way. There's been too many taking money and looking the other way or actually engaging in it. Certain states, I won't mention the names, but state police helicopters are going to use to transport, a couple of satchels of cocaine or heroin to get to another point. Now, sometimes that's part of an operation, a sting operation. A lot of times it isn't. That's just the reality. And so we have to be able to not only clean up what we're looking
Well,
at
now
south
I
of the
would
border
imagine they
with
use.
conjunction, but we have to clean up here too at the same time.
Well, now I would imagine they would use drones.
Well, plenty of drones and technology that folks aren't even aware of. That beyond a shadow of a
So
doubt, yeah, you're going to know what's going on.
instead of Claudia Sheinbaum saying, okay, we're going to work with America, we also want to take the drugs off the street in Mexico, we want to stop the drug supply into America, she says, nope, we're going to slap you with
Yeah.
tariffs now.
Well,
To
that's
me, this
because
is an
she
act
is,
of war.
it actually is, in a sense. She's aiding and abetting by not doing anything.
There
The
you go. That's what I
cartels,
wanted to get to.
she, uh, I could have told you that someone like her was going to be president of Mexico next because the globalists pretty much knew what was going to happen in this country. And they had no control over that at that point. And I kept telling people they're going to put a total globalist tool into that position in Mexico when it's coming up very shortly. And well, they did. Her actions, again, they're judge them by their actions. Her not saying, yeah, we need to get rid of this. She may be playing a little of the optics game, but no, most of it is really they want me in opposition of you, and I'm perfectly willing to do it. That's why I'm here.
So
And
we can say that the Mexican president is taking the side of the terrorists. She's no different
looks
than,
like it.
well,
She's no
yeah,
different than what?
that's what it is.
She's no different than any of all the other bought off uh, politicians and governor types in Mexico. She's no different than them that have been doing it for years and years and years. And you know, uh, pick your side. My advice to her would be pick your side very carefully because in the end, yeah, you can be brought in too because chances are she's benefited from it. Let's not kid ourselves. Look at the Biden family. Okay, in my humble opinion, of course. Um, it puts her in a very bad position in a lot of ways that only international courtesy would uh, work to avoid.
Well, she would
Let's say,
definitely be under that. She would be in that category now, aiding and abetting and harboring terrorists. I mean, she's not wanting to cooperate. She's not wanting to stop the fentanyl. She instead of sitting down with Trump and having dialogue and saying, "Okay, I'll do my part to stop the drug distribution. I'm gonna now smack you with tariffs. I'm gonna go
mhm.
ahead and smack you with tariffs." And that to me is ridiculous because I have the numbers here, but I think the GDP or whatever it is with Mexico. Oh, here it is. Mexico exports to U.S. are a percentage of GDP is 35%. So Mexico bringing in stuff here is 35%. Canada exports to U.S. are 22%. U.S. exports to Canada is only 1.5. U.S. exports to Mexico is only 1.2%. So America is calling the shots here. So this is not going to end well for them. But
No,
like you said, by proxy, this brings China into the game, right?
in a sense, but I think what you'll see mostly with them, with regarding Mexico, is they depending on how it goes. If it takes a path of yeah, we're able to subdue a lot of it, and then slowly get all the tentacles and the little hairs growing off the tentacles, where the street level guys aren't going to think, well, now I can take over, kind of thing. Um, if it goes that way, the Chinese lose their juice there to a degree. They're still going to be running their oil industry and stocking up oil for themselves. They're still going to be influencing their government like they have been and like they have been here to a larger degree than anybody would care to imagine. So you're going to see, I think, them fade more into the background. Are they going to leave? Of course not. They've got a foothold down there. They're going to stay. They're going to affect. They're going to do what they can try to do as long as they can. And it will always be to cause the United States trouble. More so because of our direct uh, Chinese American relationships. But because when you come right down to it, in the end, they still have the same supranational enemy that we have. And the ones that gave them things like that resulted in the Boxer Rebellion, the Opium Wars, etc. All of that, they haven't forgotten that, And they know exactly who was responsible for that. And I don't think that, you know, I think from a cultural and a psychological point of view, looking at them, they haven't forgotten these things and they won't until they feel they've gotten payback. So they're going to be a pain in the ass, but not so much that they can't be countered ultimately. But not enough resources have been put against their spy networks, their covert networks in this country. Okay,
So
it just hasn't.
I've heard
I've
that.
seen it up close and personal. It's obvious.
Because I've heard that China is they're all over South America. I've had a big foreman Mike who has a lot of intel of the border stuff talking about how China is setting up shop all over South America. But when we say South America, we have to include Mexico. So who's to say that now China is going to really move full throttle, full speed ahead, and start putting Chinese bases all over? I've heard here and just on the border that there's training facilities, terrorist training facilities. I could throw a rock over there and hit these places.
There
Right
are.
in Juarez, and other places like all along the border, like they're training basically for war with America. Is the way I see it.
Well, you know, what think of this. What you could possibly see in Mexico is let's say the top brass of their military. Let's say you have a cadre of these guys who say we're sick of it too. We don't want it anymore. We can do just as well, developing our country economically, because on average, the Mexican worker, factory worker, is far more highly trained than your average Chinese factory worker. And that's a fact. There's no reason why, you know, you might not see them put pressure in the background on her saying, no, it's not going that way. We're going to let it go this way and we're going to help. Because I guarantee you there's a lot, especially in their defense forces, that don't like the Chinese influence because they know what that leads to. And they want a sovereign Mexico, just like we want a sovereign US again.
But see, the Mexican people are very, very prideful. Okay, they're very, very prideful.
Mhm.
They'll go down in flames. They will fight to the death. Okay, I'm a Mexican fighter, man. I know the mentality behind these people. Pride comes before the fall, and they are not going to just say, "Okay, we're going to do what America says. We're going to be we're going to be their whipping boy." They are going to defy Trump every step of the way, and the tensions are going to get more and more severe. I'm going to tell you, this is going to get. I can cut it with a knife here on the border. The tension, it's
I
crazy.
have
I
no
went to the
doubt.
border, and and there was you know, cartel federales all along there, like opposing our border patrol. That's why they're there, to intimidate our border patrol.
But in the end, if it came to, let's say everything got stupid and it came to a more serious daily slugfest, they damn well know where they stand on that. They don't have a prayer. And yes,
Yeah,
they'll
but
fight
cartel
to the end.
warfare
And
is a little different
unfortunately,
than it's not conventional warfare, Ghost. You know that.
I know that. But, you know, if they're going to try things on this side of the border with, uh, let's say, assassinations and or attempted assassinations, again, we will turn up the heat on them. And I'm not saying it'd be easy, but we've allowed this. In other words, they, many countries around the world had a vested interest at certain levels in, let's say, really dark operations. That trade kept going. It was fun. It does fund a lot of hinky shit around the world. But this is the kind of shit that has gotten us into a position as a country where people have lost respect, not just because of the previous 4 years. They've lost respect because we talk about a war on drugs. We've never prosecuted a war on drugs in reality. It's never
Right.
been fully prosecuted. We have only ourselves. The Mexican people have only themselves, and other countries have only themselves to blame for allowing it to get to this point. Us not raising our kids right, letting them get into drugs. Granted, a lot of times it happens, you're great parents, and it happens. That's the tragedy of it all. That's what breaks my heart. And how much more? Now let's take drugs out of it. Let's bring in the human trafficking. This you're starting to see that subject creep out there more and more. It's starting to make the talking points of the good ones, and there's a reason for that, because if people understand the depth of depravity and sickness and horror in that action alone, human trafficking, slavery, organ harvest, all that kind of stuff. We can go anywhere we want, but people know what I'm talking about.
Here I am. I'm just showing you, and you could probably see it yourself. I'm here right in the right on the border, going to the wall with a former DEA friend of mine, just to go, just do a scouting job for my Instagram and for YouTube, and I'm just going to show this as B-roll while we're talking, but just so people know, this is just me going to certain areas of the wall, just to get a up close and personal, view on this. And I got to tell you, I mean, it's different, but not much different. I don't know what this, and as we're approaching right here, you can see this huge bus to the left, this big RV bus. I don't know what that's for. I don't
Yeah,
know if they're taking immigrants somewhere or what they're doing with that, but that has no place there. I have no idea why that's there. So,
doesn't have much
you know,
marking on it too, does it?
no, it's zero marking. You're right. Good observation. So
You should
it's
go up
just,
to it and get the DOT numbers off of it, and you can find out who owns it and what it's there for, probably.
but you know, I don't know. I just wanted to show this while we're talking, because I do feel this is ground zero, Ghost. This is going to be ground zero.
It is to for a certain segment of it. It definitely is, and the dumbest thing to do would be us to start shooting at each other across that border. And this is why I'm saying the time for fixing our own, cleaning our own house will also offer ample time to really gauge the situation and maybe, let's say, back channel diplomacy used to kind of bring it down so that, okay, it's not if, I believe it's when it sparks off, it's less detrimental to both sides. And I've seen a number of interviews with Mexican military that a lot of these guys are serious about cleaning it up. Now, if they run into, think about this, if they run into stalling from their president, I don't think they're going to look too kindly at that. And
Well, it kind of goes with
better
Trump's fuck
wouldn't
around
it be
and
better
find
for
out
both of our
policy.
militaries to work together? Yeah, I think if she gives orders for them to actually fire upon us, it's the dumbest thing she could do, unless she's part of something bigger that we're not looking at.
Well,
And
they're already firing upon us. They're already shooting at the border patrol. They're testing their limits right now.
yeah, they are, but it's not, it's not huge firefights, 3-day firefights or anything like that. It's, yeah, firing back and forth across there, but uh, it's saying a lot right now. And looking at it from their side, awfully premature to allow anybody to do that. So they're being stupid already, in my humble opinion. But depends who's firing and who they're taking orders from.
This is pretty good footage, huh, Ghost?
It is. It is. You going to do like a special presentation or a documentary?
I'm gonna start putting more of this type of stuff on Nino's Corner.tv and stuff like that. But you talked about, April being a significant month. I want to discuss that because it would be considered like conspiracy on fluff tube. So I don't want to talk about it here. But
Yeah, yeah.
you mind going back to the Nino's Corner.tv and discussing the potential arrests that
Not
are
at
coming.
all.
I have some names in mind, and I've talked to Juanito about this as well. That I've heard preliminary arrests have happened, are starting to happen right now. Are you hearing the same thing?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
I
so
am.
then, so let's get into that on Nino's Corner.tv. But I want to finish showing this for my audience here, and just kind of show what's going on here. So this whole area right here is a major area
How
for
far
immigration.
outside, how far out there are you taking
Not
these?
far at
How
all.
many
I can
miles?
get there in like 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is like I can go there right now, and if you see what happens here, um, I we're walking up to, you see those barriers right there, those X-shaped barriers.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just put there. So all those guys right there are Mexican military federales, and he's asking me what's going on. So I said,
None of your business. How about
no,
that?
I
But you
mean,
didn't want
you
to
got,
get shot.
I tried to be very,
Yeah, I know.
very,
I'm just kidding.
but you know, I try to be very respectful in some degree. But this whole
Yeah.
area here, these boundaries, these barriers are actually new. They're not, so
Something that's just been
this,
sitting there for a while.
right. But so Ghost, let's pull it back to the corner. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready to
All
go.
right, let's talk more
Yep.
about let's talk more about this. I want to talk about the arrests, the potential arrests. I've heard some names, and I'm sure you have as well. So let's pull it back. All right, folks, we'll see you at Nino's Corner.tv. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're new here. It really helps me out putting out the right information. Thanks, Ghost.
You got it.